This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. The Department of Defense is working with Google to help secure America's digital defense systems, from establishing cloud-based zero-trust solutions to deploying the latest AI technology. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Back in 2022, we ran an episode about a woman named Elaine who was diagnosed with an early stage of cancer, which was treatable with surgery. But Elaine was pretty skeptical of mainstream medicine and decided she wasn't comfortable with the idea of surgery. So she did her own research and learned about alternative options, experimental stuff, herbal remedies, even scorpion venom. But those things did not stop the progression of Elaine's cancer, and she died. Skepticism about mainstream medicine has guided people's individual health decision-making for a long time, people whose politics are on the right and the left. But in the U.S., this kind of mistrust is increasingly guiding public policy for all of us. At the federal level, Robert Kennedy Jr., who's been critical of the medical establishment for years, is now the Secretary of Health and Human Services. And it's happening at the state level, too. Utah just voted to remove fluoride from their water supply because so many people were worried that it might not be safe, despite scientific consensus that it is safe and helps prevent tooth decay in kids and adults. Public health is about how each of our health decisions scale up. And there's a tension between individual freedom and the consequences for all of us, like with vaccine hesitancy, for example. This episode is about how a decision to forego medical advice affects others on a more intimate scale. Elaine was the mother of the writer Archie Matlow. That's who I interviewed for this episode. Archie wrote a wonderfully honest, painful, and somehow really funny book about Elaine called Dead Mom Walking, a memoir of miracle cures and other disasters. When the book was published, Archie used the name Rachel Matlow. They now prefer Archie, so we've updated that in the tracking for this episode. Archie has also written about their gender identity evolution, including a couple of years ago about transitioning while your father has dementia. The headline of that piece, Why My Father Called Me Son, Daughter, He, She, and It. There's a link to that in our show notes. There, and in this episode, Archie has a beautiful way of describing family, including the ways we can fiercely love and show up for them while being hurt and confused by some of their choices and beliefs.
I think she rejected surgery because she was afraid. Like she was more terrified than she'd ever been. And these miracle cures gave her hope. Like they were an escape hatch from facing her fears head on.
This is Death, Sex, and Money. The show from Slate about the things we think about a lot and need to talk about more. I'm Anna Sale. It's springtime, which where I live means the poppies are blooming, the maples are sprouting new bright green leaves, and it's all making me want to move through my home with a bottle of Windex and a wet cloth for dusting to create fresh starts. In my bedroom, it also means I am putting on my crisp white sheets from Brooklinen. It feels great crawling into a newly made bed with my silky yet cool Brooklinen sheets. They they just feel so good. If you prefer a little color, they also have this nice light sage color that makes you feel like you're sleeping in your own bright springy chrysalis. Gear up for the change of seasons with the linen and luxe line of bedding from Brooklinen. It's grounded in an optimistic palette, and for cooler nights, Brooklinen also has soft, breathable Dreamweave waffle bed blankets for layering. Brooklinen's customizable bundles make it easy to refresh your bed and bathroom, putting everything you need in one place. And Brooklinen sheets are tried and true with more than 200,000 five-star reviews and millions of happy customers. Shop award winners and fan faves in-store or online at brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com. Visit today for an exclusive new customer offer. Today's episode is sponsored by Smart Travel, a new podcast from NerdWallet. Do you want to travel like a savvy jet setter? No, that doesn't have to mean monogramming your passport. It just means making smart decisions every step of your trip. That takes knowing your options. And the podcast Smart Travel unpacks the facts, like which booking sites actually save money, or how to fly first class using points, if that fancy travel card is a smart investment, when to book your travel for the best value, which upgrades are worth the money, which ones aren't. Stay tuned at the end of this episode to hear the Smart Travel trailer. And be sure to follow Smart Travel from NerdWallet so you can start traveling like a pro. Archie Matlow is a 45-year-old non-binary writer and audio producer who lives in Toronto. In 2015, their mom Elaine died from cancer. Cancer that Archie's mom decided not to treat with conventional medicine. Archie's book about that time is about loving and arguing with their mom through those treatment and end-of-life choices.
How long does it feel like your mom's been gone?
I mean, I think it does feel like it's been 7 years, but sometimes it feels like I wouldn't be surprised if she just walked in the door. I don't think about her every day. I think about her a lot, but I don't know if I think about her every single day like I used to. Mm-hmm. So in that way, she feels a bit distant. But, you know, I have her picture up on my fridge. I still talk to her in my head. I still make fun of her.
Oh, really? When you're talking to her in your head, as you said, like, what's that like? Is it out loud?
Yeah. It's more like, oh, Mom would get a kick out of this. Like, even right now, the fact that I'm talking about her to you, she would probably find hilarious. She'd be like, make me look good. Just make me look good.
That's interesting. Do you speak back to her?
Yeah, I say, why did you do what you did? You know, there's times where I'm like, you should be here. You should be here for this, and you're not. And I'm like annoyed at you right now because of that.
When Elaine was growing up, she felt like her own mom had held her too close in a way that felt stifling. So when Elaine became a mother, she wanted to do things differently with Archie and their older brother.
She had a very hands-off approach. She gave me lots of freedom to do whatever I wanted, to eat whatever I wanted. And I remember when I started senior kindergarten and she said, oh, you're in senior kindergarten. It's full time. You have to make your own lunch for school. And I remember just being like, oh, like, what do I take? And I think she said, your cousin Sarah takes a yogurt. And so I was very famous at school from the time I was young because one of my favorite concoctions was I would bring a cappuccino yogurt and then a box of Smarties and pour the Smarties into the cappuccino yogurt and swirl it until all the dye came off. And then I'd usually like round it off with like a Coke and maybe a Baby Bell for like a bit of protein or something. So yeah, she just never told me what to do. And like, looking back, I didn't think parents did tell kids what to do. Like, I got to make all my own decisions. I decided in grade 2 that I didn't like my school and I wanted to go to this other alternative school where I could play chess all day. And I told my mom, I found a new school and I'm going there. So it was kind of great. But that being said, it probably wasn't so good for me to be eating mini pita stuffed with Nutella for my lunches every day.
It sounds like you certainly made the most of your autonomy.
I still can't eat Nutella today. I'm so done with it.
Archie's parents split up when they were 10. Mostly Archie lived with their dad, but they also had a room at what Archie called Elaine's bachelor pad. Elaine was in her mid-40s during the divorce, and afterwards, she threw herself into personal growth.
She was always going off to these Buddhist meditation retreats, shaman camp.
Was it really called shaman camp?
Yeah, she'd be like, off to shaman camp. I was like, what do you do at shaman camp? Like, I don't think there was a lot of water skiing going on or archery. Yeah, so I joke our dynamic, technically it was mother and daughter, but it always felt more like mother and son just because of my gender. But then I also joke that it often felt like father and daughter, with her, like her being the unruly teenager. So always going off to these Buddhist meditation retreats and doesn't call, So I think in a way I did feel a bit responsible for her. It was kind of my role always to kind of bring her back down to earth.
Mm. And in your view, as you were sort of figuring out who you were and the way you wanted your life to look, did you ever feel like your mom wanted your life to resemble hers more?
No, not at all. There was no pressure. If anything, like that hands-off approach, I would have liked them to be like, maybe you should do this. Give me some pointers in life. It's like I feel like I had to figure out everything on my own. I always felt like both my parents were very happy with me, even though I think maybe they preferred I didn't quit high school.
Which you did.
Yeah, and become a traveling hippie. It was the late 90s, in my defense. But no, they were always pretty supportive. Yeah.
How old were you when your mom was diagnosed with cancer?
I was 30.
And how old was your mother?
66.
And how do you remember that conversation, finding out?
We were meeting up at this rooftop patio, this top of the Park Hyatt, this hotel in Toronto, where you can get this like amazing view of the whole city. And, Mom loved going to places like that because it just felt like it's a very expensive martini that you get, but you feel like it's a mini vacation from life down below. And yeah, we were just catching up after work one day, and then she just blurted it out. I think I have cancer. Oh. And, my mother is a good storyteller, prone to hyperbole, so I didn't react right away. I just thought, okay, maybe she's scared, but I soon could tell that it was more serious. She was actually afraid.
Elaine was eventually diagnosed with stage 1 rectal cancer, which has a roughly 90% survival rate after 5 years with treatment. After Elaine's doctor noticed the tumor during a colonoscopy, he wanted to schedule surgery right away.
She protested because she already had a plane ticket to Peru. She explained that Machu Picchu was on her bucket list, so she had to do that first. And so I was already like, oh, what is this? She's like stalling. And then she came back and she started reading all these books by people who offered non-invasive remedies for treating cancer, all these miracle cure books, basically. And she really started to believe that she thought she had just as good a chance of curing cancer on her own.
Did you initially sympathize with her skepticism about conventional cancer treatment and the medical establishment?
Yeah, I was a hippie anti-vaxxer. I took these homeopathic pills instead of getting my malaria shots when I went to India. Like, I hung out at the health food store and ate spirulina. Like, I had my, teenage health food phase. But as I grew older, I became more balanced and, realized, maybe I'll just take a Tylenol instead of peppermint oil. And that actually feels a lot better. So I understood, but it seemed like she didn't grow out of it. I understand, chemo is poison. and that big pharma, as people call it, is not the most trustworthy. That being said, I realize you kind of have to pick and choose what are your best odds. And I just don't think you can cure yourself of cancer with vegetable juice. So I think surgery was the best option.
Uh-huh. And your mother, I mean, you say that sounds like a joke, but what did your mom, as she took on an alternate path to trying to manage her cancer, like what did she try?
I mean, what didn't she try? I mean, like she was taking an herbal tincture, and she would even put freshly ground up flax seeds in her champagne. She took scorpion venom. She did oil pulling, coffee enemas. She would talk out loud to her cancer cells with respect. She kind of just cherry picked what she liked from various protocols. And yeah, like I was pretty freaked out about it. I kind of went back between arguing my case and then tried to be supportive. But I just kept thinking that for a long time that it was just a matter of time until she'd come around and get surgery.
Mm-hmm. And when you would make your case for surgery, when that conflict like reared itself in its most intense way, where you really felt the standoff, like what would she say back?
Well, she would usually try to shut it down pretty quickly by just saying, I've made my decision and I don't want to talk about it. So I guess she thought I was bringing her down with my negativity. So she basically told me that I had to stop arguing with her or she wouldn't want to be my friend anymore. So basically, she threatened to cut me out of her life, which I didn't really believe, but it was still hurtful and it was shocking. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the mom I had thought I knew.
Mm-hmm. Did she think she was taking care of her health?
Yes.
You do think she was? Uh-huh.
Yeah. She really wanted to live. And she really thought she was going to die if she, not necessarily on the operating table, but in the process, of being pulled into the system. She just thought she would be giving up all agency and they would go to work on her. She's somebody who came of age in second-wave feminism and really wanted to push against the norms and do things in countercultural ways. I think when it came down to it, trusting the doctors, giving up control was just too difficult. She wanted to be in control of her own treatment, even if it was just a fantasy.
Mm. That must have been so hard.
Yeah, it was pretty frustrating. But, when you're in something, you have this adrenaline and, I would tell myself, you know what, maybe her cancer just won't catch up with her for another 20 years. It's not like they do tests or do studies on people who just let their cancer grow. So maybe it'll just take a really long time to kill her. All the different kind of mental gymnastics I did kind of just helped me stay sane at the time.
Uh-huh. And what was it like, with this in the background of your relationship during those 4 years? Like, what were your conversations like when you weren't talking about cancer? Could you pretend like it wasn't happening?
Yeah. I mean, for the life kind of continue on as normal in many ways. And, so she would refer to it as having a touch of cancer. She would say, I just have a touch of cancer.
Oh, that's like charming and also so tragic. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
How much did you share with people close to you about that battle you were having with your mother?
My close friends knew. But it was hard because at the beginning, people would say, oh, has your mom started treatment yet? And I would have to be like, no, she's taking herbs instead. And then they would be horrified. And then that would make me horrified. And so every time I talked about it, it would just stress me out. So I think, and especially as she kind of went deeper in her denial, I just found it easier to not talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad saw it the same way as I did. But basically, my mom was able to convince everybody else in her life that she was doing the right thing.
Uh-huh.
So it did make me doubt myself. And she's the parent. Like, maybe I should just trust her. And who's going to fight with a woman who's saying I have the right to choose my own course of treatment? Like, only me. Like, I'm like the horrible anti-feminist child who's denying her rights. And also, like, my mom was known for her authenticity. She had taught a consciousness raising group. She even underwent cognitive therapy for her chocolate addiction. Like, she was the most self-aware person we all knew, so no one would believe that Elaine was in denial. It was brilliant.
You know, I think we all want to believe that if we can just figure out the right words when someone we love is not understanding or hearing us, or we are very concerned that they're making choices that are harmful to them, we really all want to believe that if we can summon the right words, we can get through that impasse. And I think of your relationship with your mother as having there was so much affection and respect between you two. What did it make you learn about the limitations of your ability to pull someone into seeing your point of view?
Yeah, I think what I came to realize is that my mom was operating from an emotional place where reason, logic was suspended in the face of fear. And that, you know, like my therapist, who really helped me through a lot of this stuff, she says that like, I thought I was talking to the mistress of the house when really I was talking to her armored guard who was not letting any information pass the gate. So, like, her system was just so shut and absolute that I guess it just made me really realize, like, yeah, the limitations of logical thinking.
Talking to the armored guard, it's like whenever she felt like you were coming at her, it immediately led to a self-protection reaction as opposed to being able to hear anything you were saying.
For sure. It just made her dig her heels in deeper. And I just think that she just really needed to be listened to. I think that's one thing that conventional medicine could get better at is treating, you know, people's emotions as well as their body. Because I think that's what really appealed to her about all these healers, is that they really took into account her emotional world. And I think that's really what she needed.
Coming up, what it was like, after all this, for Archie to be the primary caregiver for Elaine in her last days, and what they talked about as her end got closer.
My mom was speaking clearly from the perspective of someone who had experienced the loss of her parents. You know, it's like she was like a club member giving me a welcome packet.
For the last few weeks, we've been asking you to send us stories about offline dating, specifically your success stories about meeting a romantic partner in person, i.e., not with the help of online profiles or algorithms. And wow, you are really delivering.
I met my now husband in 2018 at a sober birthday celebration. We're both in recovery, and we run in the same circles but had never met. And even though I wasn't planning to go to this birthday party, I ended up going, arrived late, and the only seat available was next to him. Now, he happens to be a T6 paraplegic in a wheelchair, And he was very clever and said, I'd give you my seat, but ... And I thought that was so cute.
I love that one. We also heard from a listener in Chicago who is going to great lengths to encourage more people to meet and fall in love in person.
I host an event called Please Date My Friend, which it happens about quarterly, and it's an event where people pitch their friends via PowerPoint to fall in love. And it's been a hoot every single time. About 150 to 200 people come, and it's really a delight.
Have you had any success at an in-person singles event like that? Or has your success story been from a totally chance run-in with someone and it changed the trajectory of your life? How has that affected your sense of fate and agency? Let us know. Tell us your stories of offline romance by sending us a voice memo or write us an email to deathsexmoney@slate.com. We'd love to hear from you. And next week on the show, we'll hear from someone who is very good at chatting up strangers. Kareem Rama hosts the viral web series Subway Takes. Maybe you've seen him pop up in your social media feeds. Kareem tells me that his knack for chat dates back to his childhood in Minnesota.
There was a lot of debate between myself and my father. There was a lot of negotiating in our household on my end and on his end. And I think that the rest of my family were spectators between the battle of the two people who thought that they were the smartest people in the family. It was literally an episode of a podcast where two people didn't necessarily like each other, but enjoyed fanning the flames of intellectual discussion. And I still find that, like, my favorite night out will be four people at a dinner table at a 4-hour dinner having debates.
This episode is brought to you by the ACLU. The ACLU believes the Trump administration is pushing a dangerous and sweeping attempt to control our bodies, our families, and our lives. President Trump has signed far-reaching executive orders that target transgender people, their rights, and their health care. But the ACLU and their partners are in court fighting back. Meanwhile, the ACLU is also at the Supreme Court fighting for the future of transgender people's freedom and bodily autonomy for all. U.S. versus Scrimetti centers on a Tennessee law restricting healthcare access for trans youth. Tennessee has asked the Supreme Court to expand the ruling that overturned Roe versus Wade to allow it. The ACLU believes the fights for abortion and trans healthcare are connected. You can learn more at aclu.org/autonomy. This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Shopping at Saks is the easiest way to discover the best new styles to elevate your everyday look, especially when you're short on time. At Saks, you'll find inspiration for every occasion, from casual outfits to special events. Here's a true story. Just the other day, I realized that I don't really have a pair of quick slip-on sneakers that I feel cool in. And I actually searched on my laptop, cool mom sneakers. And that was not a very fruitful internet search. And then I went to Saks.com and I just searched under shoes and then sneakers. And I could get a good look at what's on trend, what is classic. I could think about what is the right sneaker for me in 2025. It was like having a current lookbook to help me figure out my particular cool mom sneaker identity. The thing that I can just put on with jeans and make work for errands around the neighborhood, or wear for a cool casual look at my next work event. I'm still mulling my exact pair, but while I was there at Saks.com, I hopped over to the accessories vertical and checked out a pair of Elisa Johnson sunglasses that are also very cool. Whether you're refreshing your entire wardrobe or shopping for a vacation or just trying to find some everyday sneakers, Saks makes it fun and easy. If you are looking for a fun, effortless shopping experience and want to elevate your personal style, head to Saks. That's Saks.com for everyday inspiration. This episode is brought to you by Discover. If you've listened to Death, Sex, and Money for a while, you know how important acceptance is when it comes to personal growth. And you know who else is big on acceptance? Discover. You see, Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. That's a whole lot of places and a whole lot of acceptance, which is great for Discover, but even better for you. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, learn more at discover.com/credit card. This is Death, Sex, and Money from Slate. I'm Anna Sale. 10 months after Archie Matlow's mother died, Archie made a radio piece about grief and missing their mom that ran on the CBC in Canada. It won a big audio prize, a Third Coast Award, and that piece is actually how I first got to know Archie's work. I want to share a bit of it with you because it's really special and will give you an up-close sense of their relationship.
Hey, Mom. I'm here at your bench. Looks really good. It's just what you wanted. Well, you really have missed a lot in the past year. Your after party went really well. Lots of people came, and I even did stand-up comedy about you. You know you've always been a source of good material. And you'd be happy to know that Harper is out. Trudeau got in. Oh, and the second season of Transparent is really good. I wish we could have watched together. And the holidays and birthdays haven't been the same without you, bringing up something inappropriate at the table, like furries. I miss that laugh. I really wish I could talk to you.
Yeah. That's a common thing I keep reading, that people are here. That if only I could just pick up the phone once and talk to her again. If you want, just talk to me. Just think you're talking to me.
Okay. But it's not the same as you actually being alive and here right now.
It's not the same, but... No, it's not the same. No, it's not the same.
I sometimes just think you're on a really long, silent meditation retreat. I don't know where you are, but I wish you were here.
I know. I wish I were here too.
I just don't know how to get through this without you. I mean, I knew I would be sad, but I never knew I'd be this sad. What would you tell me if you were here?
I would tell you that everybody has a lot of sadness in their life. Everybody does, no matter what they look like on the outside. And sometimes you go for quite a long time with everything great. But everybody does suffer, and so it's not weird or wrong or not socially acceptable to be sad.
I know it's not weird, but I'm not always sure I know what to do.
Well, one thing is just to sit with it. That's the Buddhist way. You just feel the loss and the pain, and it'll move. It'll move a lot faster than if you try to, just check it away or suppress it or, It's just better to say, I'm missing my mother right now.
I'm missing my mother right now.
If you're sad, be sad. Because it's life. You can't, you know what I mean? It's, unfortunately, people die. We all die. So, and the people left behind are the ones who really suffer. The person might be terrified of dying beforehand, but I don't have any worries about going to hell or heaven.
I'm glad you have a sense of humor about it. But as the person left behind, what else can I do when I miss you?
I have a lot of diaries that are usually I'm so unhappy. But I'm not going to throw them out. If you want to read them, if you want to know about my sex life, you can. But it is a way you might want to, or some of them, or start them, or read pieces. I think it would be, you know what I mean? It would really bring me back because they're all handwritten and they're pretty raw.
I wish they could really bring you back. But I'll still give them a read at my own risk. I just can't get over the fact that you won't be here to see some really big things in my life. Like if I get married or have a kid.
Oh, cripes. There's nothing you can do except I want to tell you this, and I want you to remember it, that I couldn't be any prouder of you than I am today, but I wish I could see that. I do. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wish I could see everything that goes on in your life from now on. I just had a thought.
Yeah?
If you do have a daughter, could you give her Elaine even as a middle name?
Sure.
Okay, I would like that.
Well, only if I have a daughter.
I know. But if you did, or a dog. I mean, how many dogs are named Elaine? It would be very interesting.
Yeah, that wouldn't be weird at all.
When did you get out your audio recorder?
Maybe 3 months before she died is when I started talking to her.
Was there conflict during those recording sessions that you remember?
Nope. I really just listened. I would count the little homeopathic balls and put them into the water for her. You know, God forbid I give her an overdose. Yeah.
How would you fill your days when you had shifted into 24-hour caregiving? What would you do in a day together?
We watched a lot of thrilling television. It felt like a 7-week-long pajama party. I put all my chess games on hold. I took a leave of absence from my job. And yeah, I took care of her, but like I also needed to be with her. Like I needed her in that time.
What time of year were those 7 weeks? What season was it?
I think it started around tulip season, whatever that is, May, June. Because I remember we were getting lots of tulips for her. Yeah, and then she died on July 6th.
How soon after her death were you listening to those audio recordings?
Oh, pretty much right away. I found it was the only thing that made me feel better is to still hear her voice.
We both make audio and we both edit audio. And as I was thinking about you having these recordings and then having the opportunity to edit your mother, it struck me that like when so much of what had been so painful during her illness was that you couldn't get her to say back what you wanted her to say when you were trying to express something. Did you think about that? Like, did you feel that?
I don't think I was conscious of that, but totally what you're saying makes sense. You know, it's like, yeah, who's the real control freak here? It's like, Mom's finally going to do what I say. But, I mean, that being said, I don't think I really, like, took liberty. Like, I didn't actually edit too much of what she said. Like, I didn't Franken edit it, you know? Like, she actually said those things. I think I joked that it's kind of like that Natalie and Nat King Cole duet, Unforgettable. It's my inspiration. But, you know, then of course there was so much more to the story.
I'm curious, like, on the one hand, the details of the story of your mother's illness and the conflict about how to deal with medical care, so specific and kind of extreme. But I wonder if in talking about grieving a parent with other people, are there ways that you like come to sort of see like, oh, this is also just part of losing a parent?
It's hard to say because I do feel different from other people. Like, I've had a couple conversations with people whose mother also refused conventional treatment, and I relate to them more because there's something very specific about just those extra feelings of feeling like I couldn't have saved her. And also just the riddle of why somebody would do this. I find that's helped me more to know that my mom's not the only one who's made such a far out choice.
Mm-hmm.
And even just like the frustration of dealing with people in the pandemic who are refusing to get vaccinations and just having those kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
They really remind me of my mom.
Have you felt pulled to become a parent?
Oh. I mean, no. No, I mean, it's hard enough just getting myself up every day and like 2 matching socks, breakfast, lunch every day. Like, I'm still working on myself. Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Did you think about, like, did going through your mother's illness and death, like, did you think about becoming a parent in one way or another that was new after going through that? Did it feel less appealing, more appealing?
I don't know. So many people want to be a parent to do things differently. But I think in that, often people give their kid what they needed and not necessarily what the kid needs. It just makes me think how the pendulum can really swing from one side to the other. My mother is who needed the hands-off approach to parenting, not necessarily me. And I probably could have used a bit more hands-on mothering, but our relationship wasn't perfect, but it was great. And I'll take that.
That's Archie Matlow. Their book is called Dead Mom Walking, a memoir of miracle cures and other disasters. And that audio piece with Archie and Elaine that we excerpted first ran on the Sunday edition on the CBC. It's called Dead Mom Talking. We put a link to it in our show notes if you want to listen to the whole thing. The original version of this episode was produced by Lily Clark. This updated version was produced by Cameron Drews. The rest of the Death, Sex, and Money show team includes Andrew Dunn and Zoe Azoulay. Daisy Rosario is our senior supervising producer. Hillary Fry is Slate's editor-in-chief. Please support the production of our show by becoming a member of Slate Plus, our membership program. You'll be supporting the work of the Death, Sex, and Money show team, and you'll get access to benefits like ad-free listening and special drops just for Slate Plus members from us. We do at least 2 a month. You can subscribe directly from the Death, Sex, and Money show page on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or just go to slate.com/DSM Plus to get access wherever you listen. Our theme music is by the Reverend John DeLure and Steve Lewis. If you're new to our show, welcome. We're glad you're here. You can find us on Instagram at DeathSexMoney. I write a weekly newsletter, and you could subscribe to that at annasale.substack.com. And you can reach us anytime with voice memos, pep talks, questions, critiques. Our email address is deathsexmoney@slate.com. We love hearing from you. When I talked to Archie, they told me Elaine didn't just leave diaries behind. She also published her own book.
How can we find some of your mother's writing?
Oh, my God. Write me, and I'll send you a copy of her dating guide for women over 50. I've inherited a few boxes of them.
The dating guide, that would be Silver Fox.
Yeah, Silver Fox, the dating guide for women over 50. But I really think it's good for all ages. Oh, maybe you could have like a giveaway. If you want, I'll give you as many as you want.
Our next pledge premium is Silver Fox.
The first 100 people to write in get a copy of Silver Fox.
I got my own copy of Silver Fox, and it's a really great read. Exciting and bittersweet. I'm Anna Sale, and this is Death, Sex, and Money from Slate.
Today's episode is sponsored by Smart Travel, a new podcast from NerdWallet. I'm Sally French.
And I'm Megan Coyle. We're travel writers at NerdWallet, and we love helping you make your travel budget work smarter. Because who doesn't love more trips for less money?
People who hate fun, Megan, that's who.
But that's definitely not you, person who is listening to this right now.
On Smart Travel, we don't just hand out travel advice, we break it down. Like, should you get that fancy airline credit card with the huge sign-up bonus? Or is that just a shiny trap leading you to financial ruin?
We have the answers. The answer is, it depends, by the way.
That's why we do the research for you. We crunch the numbers, dissect the fine print, and make sense of loyalty programs so you don't accidentally spend all your hard-earned points on a sad airport hotel booked amidst a canceled flight.
Each week, we tackle real travel questions like, is travel insurance worth it? How do you spot a good flight deal before it's gone? And can you actually use those random miles your aunt gave you for Christmas? Also, I want that aunt.
Look, we don't just sit here and talk about travel. We live it. I once turned a canceled flight into a free trip to Denver, $200 in United vouchers, and $45 in Starbucks gift cards.
And you were so patient through it all. We've got practical tips, expert interviews, and plenty of hot takes.
I call them hot takeoffs.
To help you travel smarter, not harder. So whether you're planning your next getaway or just love staying ahead of the travel game, follow Smart Travel on your favorite podcast app.
Your passport will thank you, and so will your wallet.